The best of Money Matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, our next guest was only 19 when she founded her own newsletter. Inspired by Morning Brew and Axios, she wanted to make a newsletter that covered tech and business in Southeast Asia. The topic area made sense. She's based in Manila, the capital of the Philippines, itself a growing tech hub. Fast forward to today, tens of thousands of founders, investors, and tech workers globally trust BackScoop for their daily dose of industry news. But what sets BackScoop apart from all the other newsletters in the market? Well, joining me today to share more is Amanda Cua, who is the founder and CEO of BackScoop. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hongbin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me, Amanda. Amanda, just to get, more idea of your background here, how did you get started on BackScoop? I mean, what started your passion for writing, entrepreneurship, and startups?
So for me, I actually started working when I was 18. I just graduated from high school. It was 2020, so it was the pandemic. And I thought that for somebody like me who loves school, I wouldn't enjoy studying on the internet. So I thought about taking a gap year. And during that gap year, I'd work for a startup in the Philippines online. I had found a job listing and applied and worked for them for an entire year completely online. I'd never met my bosses.
Yeah.
And that's where I fell in love with the startup ecosystem.
Okay.
But more importantly, it's where I realized that you don't need to go to college. You don't need to have all of these prerequisite skills to work in a certain company or work in a certain job. I think the most important thing you really need is to really learn how to learn quickly. And that's how I decided to start my own company the year after.
Wow.
I didn't think I was ready, but I thought I had the skills to learn quickly and figure it out along the way. And I just wanted to see if it works, and it did. So that's why I'm still here.
That's amazing. Starting your own business at just 19. I mean, that's when you launched your newsletter. I mean, most people at 19 would still be in school, not thinking about entrepreneurship or starting a business. But how did you know that this would be, the right business for you? What was the moment that led you to combine business and tech content for your audience?
So I think there's a topic called founder market fit. And for me, when I thought about it, what would be the best fit for me as a company owner? I think it's a space that I'm interested in and that I could be good at. I think if I tried to build a biotech company without a college degree and no prerequisite skills, I would horribly fail. But I really like reading. I like business content. I like international relations. Those are all the things I was interested in when I was studying in high school and what I wanted to pursue in university. And at the time, I was also reading Morning Brew for about 2 to 3 years then. And as somebody who liked reading news, I thought that this newsletter format to cover American and world news was great. And I think at that point, I'd worked at the startup ecosystem for a year, and I saw that the other players had maybe 5 websites in total. So all of those different outlets would be really hard for somebody like me, or especially somebody even busier, like a startup founder or a CEO, to go through every day just to get the information they need.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, the other outlets had content, they were complete, but I think the easiest way to get through all the content was to have just one source for all of the news and for it to be delivered in a newsletter. So you don't have to go looking for the news. It goes to you instead every day in your inbox.
I mean, it sounds like it was the perfect business for you, especially because you love school, you wanted to learn more, and you love this content, this subject as well. So this kept you going. Amanda, there are startups that are also providing tech news in Southeast Asia, though. So, how does BackScoop match up other players in the crowded space of business and tech media? How do you differentiate yourself from all of these other newsletters?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I started a company, I knew that I had to be different from the other players. And that also goes hand in hand with who I am and what skills I had and what kind of fit I had. I think in terms of being the best investigative journalist, that would be really hard for me to do and start doing. But I wanted to make news very concise and easy to read, make it approachable, make it fun. And I thought, I'm a fun person. I like to write things in simple words. I think I could do that. So that was the first thing I saw. I could make it different by writing about the news in a different style, a different way. And then apart from that, we were the only player that would consolidate all the news from every platform across Southeast Asia in one platform. So for us, that's a newsletter. And the other outlets would miss out on some other pieces, like this other fundraise in the Philippines or this other company from Vietnam. We wanted to consolidate all of that. And lastly, we also wanted to make it quick and easy to read, as well as it being free, which the other players didn't do with some of their news content. So putting all of those three things together, keeping it all in one platform, making it fun and easy to read, and making it free was something different that we were doing from the other players.
I see. Well, it looks like whatever you're doing is working and you're setting yourself apart from all the other big players because BackScoop now has more than 10,000 active subscribers. I mean, you've even hired a small team to support the newsletter and turn BackScoop into your full-time job. I mean, that's impressive considering that you're a first-time founder. How did you start to grow the audience of BackScoop?
I think the funny story is that when I started growing the company, I was very real with myself. I had 1 year of work experience, barely any network, and I knew that I was targeting Southeast Asia. And the biggest market was definitely not my home country, the Philippines. So how was I going to reach all these people in all these other places? And more importantly, how was I going to reach people who are CEOs, who are venture capital investors, all these people who are like high and mighty places, and I was just like an ex-intern who had worked in a full-time job for 1 year. So initially, I thought the most important thing would be to get volume, that critical mass of like subscribers. So I actually DM'd all of my friends on Facebook one by one for several weeks, inviting them to subscribe. The Philippines is really big on Facebook, so I had about 1,000 to 2,000 Facebook friends that I DM'd one by one. And then some of them shared it with their friends, and at some point we had maybe 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers. At that point, I decided I cannot keep DMing random people because that's not my target profile. But now we have the critical mass of readers, and some of them had already started referring. But I wanted to narrow down and get more readers from the industries that mattered to my company. So I actually used LinkedIn.
Okay.
I would add 150 people every single week for several weeks. And I would choose the people who were founders in the industries that I was targeting. Investors, I would target executives at startups, and I would just hope that they accepted. And actually, many of them did. And after they would accept, I would DM them, inviting them to subscribe. So that's how I got my first few thousand subscribers, really just aggressively DMing people. So I was sliding into people's DMs, but for like professional reasons.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it was a slow and steady, but a gradual rise. Well, why did you choose the Philippines then as the base for your newsletter? Are there any unique challenges or opportunities there?
So the Philippines is because I'm actually Filipino. So I was born and raised in the Philippines, in a Chinese Filipino community. And, at the time it was COVID when I started. So even if I wanted to start somewhere else, I couldn't because I was locked up at home. I started it from my bedroom. And actually, since last year, I'd been spending more and more time in Singapore.
Okay.
So I realized that to start my company, especially when it was just me and when it was me and a couple of interns, or the earlier stages of growing the company, it was okay to be in the Philippines. But as my company grew, I realized that there's actually a real value in being in Singapore, which is our biggest market for readers and also for our paying advertising clients.
Okay.
Being here actually expands a lot of my opportunities because it's the only place where I could run into multiple people who are reading my content on the street or my prospective clients on the street. And then I could end up in their office and we sign a brand deal, which is great. And since this is where most of our community is, we host several events here as well to engage them. Because I think the biggest value that we've created is actually the amazing community we've built. We have really incredible founders, investors, high net worth individuals, family offices. So bringing them together in Singapore, where some of them maybe haven't met each other, is actually the biggest thing we can give back.
I see. And you mentioned earlier that what differentiate yourself or your newsletter to other newsletter is it's on a free subscription basis here. So how do you navigate monetization for your newsletter? Have you faced any challenges in maintaining a balance between business focus and tech focused content, and how do you approach this?
So for us, when we talk about monetization, we started with free advertisements on the newsletter.
Okay.
So our competitors are mainly website focused. So they would use something called programmatic ads. So those are the typical ads that you would see, flashing on a website. For us, we do ads directly on the newsletter that we co-create with the brand partner. We ask them about their goals, who they're trying to target, what their pain points are, and tailor the advertising copy to that. And I think of it as a digital version of a billboard, because every time you drive by somewhere and you see something on a billboard in your daily routine, you get more familiar with it every day. For us, it's people opening our newsletter almost every day and seeing a new product that they're slowly getting familiar with. The challenges for us, I think, in the first few years, advertising is a great way to start monetizing. But as, I'm growing up as an entrepreneur, because now I'm 22, turning 23 next month, I want to grow my business. So definitely advertising is not the most sustainable and shouldn't be the only way forward. So we're also looking at monetizing through events, monetizing through subscriptions and more.
I see. Well, what types of feedback also have you received from your readers, and how have you incorporated this feedback into your content strategy now that you have this broad base of audiences?
I think the most fun thing about my job is that I have the following on my newsletter. We have about 20,000 subscribers now, actually. But I also built like a LinkedIn following. Okay. So I would be called a LinkedIn influencer now. I have 42,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was really created because of two things. So one, because our newsletter feels very close-knit. It feels like a community. It feels like a friend talking to you versus a news platform talking to you. And because I talk about my company building journey on LinkedIn, we have really built a very strong community that has a lot of affinity to the brand and my story. And I think that's the best thing that we've been able to build. And the feedback that we get from them is really keep making things positive, keep building this positive community, keep sharing this news, which is shared in an upbeat tone, where we do not create any news or publish any news that's like clickbaity, but instead we try to frame everything in an exciting, positive tone. Don't get me wrong, we don't spin things to a positive note all the time. If something is bad, then we have to share about it in a neutral stance. But we're not here to make pieces that make people feel bad. We want to uplift the ecosystem, and that's what our readers appreciate the most.
I see.
And we're also very, very human in the way that we tell our stories and the way that I share my own stories as well with building company.
Okay. Well, on that note, what impact do you believe your newsletter will have on, the local business and tech ecosystem in the coming years?
I think one thing that we've been able to do is to really give people access to the information that they need in a very quick and easy way. But I think that's just the start. And I think the most powerful thing that we've been able to do is be good at sharing real stories and be good at crafting those narratives. So when we share the stories of founders, instead of just sharing like a fluffy piece or just like pure information in a very, rigid, formal tone, it actually reaches more people. So through the work that we've been able to do, sharing companies in an upbeat tone, talking about founders in a more human way, we actually help them reach more people, more prospective investors, more prospective customers. So we've had founders and investors tell us that deals have been made because of our platform.
I see.
And I think that at scale is just really exciting. How many companies can we help grow? Because every company will help serve so many people in Southeast Asia where innovation really matters so much more. We're not just building like electric cars or things to go faster. Sometimes these are things that fundamentally can change people's lives. And, in a region where there's still a lot of things developing, I hope that in the coming years I can say that, part of the growth in Southeast Asia has actually been driven by the work that we do, by uplifting GDP or helping increase people's income or helping more people become entrepreneurs or helping more companies succeed in whatever way that we can.
Okay, so you talked about how, BackScoop is helping some companies, some small businesses or local businesses achieve their goals. So let's talk about BackScoop. What are your goals for BackScoop in the next couple of years? Are there any expansion plans in the pipelines? What's next?
I think the most exciting thing is that I've now been running this business for 3 years. And what others might not realize is that I've also been trying to grow up as I've been growing the company. I think now that I'm almost 23 and I've been spending more time overseas, I've seen a lot more, experienced a lot more. I'm really excited to say that I'm really excited to take the business to the next level in the sense of before we just had the newsletter and then we experimented with the podcast. We experimented with more types of business stories. I think the biggest thing we did in the past 3 years is expand beyond startup news in Southeast Asia. And when I was just starting the company, and for the first 1 to 2 years of that, I just wanted to build a media company for Southeast Asian tech, Southeast Asian startups. But as I've gotten older and seen what people need, I've gotten to get to know the business ecosystem and also believe in myself more as an entrepreneur. Now I want to really build the go-to platform for business content in Southeast Asia, focused on narratives, focused on business news as well, but keeping to our core of delivering content in an accessible way, a fun way, and a very friendly way. I think this is the kind of media that, the people of the future, like Gen Z now or the millennials who are going to start their businesses, will want to rely on. So we'll be expanding to different types of content in the next few years. We'll also be expanding onto different kinds of platforms. And I guess the best way to really put it is, in an ideal world, when somebody wakes up, they'll read our newsletter. On their way to work, they might listen to our podcast. Later on throughout the day, maybe they're going to be reading our data. And then later on when they go home, they might be watching an interview that we published on our video platform or a day in the life of a founder that we published.
I see. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hongbin. So glad to be here.
So happy to have you on. That was Amanda Cua, who is the founder and CEO at BackScoop. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.